The Doctor in the TARDIS. Next stop, everywhere.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Next Stop Everywhere, the Doctor Who podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Charles Skaggs, back in the TARDIS, ready to talk the rather controversial Series 12 finale of Doctor Who here at episode 174 with my partner in time and occasional Captain Grumpy, Jesse Jackson. How you doing, Jesse?
I am great, Charles. I am loving my new job. I had another great week, and I am so looking forward to talking about this episode. I think for different reasons than you are.
Well, that's cool. Well,
yeah,
hopefully we'll cover all the bases on this one.
Yes, absolutely.
All right.
And I do wonder. I'm going to save it.
Okay. All right. So here at episode 174, everybody, we're talking, like I said, the Timeless Children. This is a big one. This is huge. And not like Donald Trump, huge. This is like huge. Okay. Okay. This is a game changer for anyone that's followed the lore. And as a result, because of that being such a game changer, it's kind of split fandom down the middle pretty much on this one. So, lots of different connotations, lots of great story potential, which is something I'm going to talk about. And, we've got lots of great feedback on this one. We have 4 people writing in our feedback section, but we're going to save that obviously toward the end. Hopefully we haven't killed each other by then. And
Charles, yes. I have never can feel anything but love for you.
All right.
Well, let's establish that right away.
Okay.
That there's nothing you can say or do that would make me unlove you. So, all right, you've got that freedom.
The feeling is mutual. Although I have to point out that my wife Lori, after I relayed your various Twitter posts throughout this week, she has wanted me to let you know that she's ready to beat you up.
Oh, okay.
If you don't lighten up. So,
okay.
So, my wife Lori is ready to throw down.
All right, I see that. That's exciting.
Yeah, that is exciting. So, hopefully it won't come to that, right? Because hell hath no fury than my wife unleashed.
Absolutely.
So, all right. But everybody else, thank you so much for joining us, and let's get right into this, okay? This was, of course, the Series 12 finale of Doctor Who, written by Chris Chibnall, showrunner, directed by Jamie Magnus Stone, and who, of course, directed the previous episode, Spyfall Part 1, Praxeus, and last week's Ascension of the Cybermen, and was the 10th episode of Series 12, aired just a few days ago on March 1st, 2020. Starring, of course, Jodie Whittaker as the 13th Doctor, Bradley Walsh as Graham O'Brien, Tosin Cole as Ryan Sinclair, and Mandeep Gill as Yasmin Yaz Khan. And I've got some news about Bradley Walsh and Tosin Cole that we're going to save for a little bit of news section at the end of the episode.
Yes.
So I'm going to tease that right now because I'm in a teasing mood today. And general thoughts, this should be interesting. This is going to be a bit of a discussion. I'll warn everybody right up front. We're going to be coming at this, I think, by the sound of it, from 2 completely different perspectives, and which is cool, and nothing wrong with that. Love to offer up different perspectives on the show, but So just, we've got a lot of ground to cover. There's a lot of things we need to discuss here.
Absolutely.
So everybody grab your popcorn,
Yes.
grab yourself a nice drink, make sure you got your
Yes.
bathroom break in, and let's kick back because I got a feeling this one's going to run a little long today.
So I need to tell you. So I was home about 5:10,
Yes.
and we were talking about what to do, and we were going to order food, and the place we want to order wasn't available yet, and we'll just do it later. I said, okay, I'm setting you up right now, Linda. Charles and I are talking at 6. We're going to go at least till 7:30. I think just knowing what this is, we're going to be
Yes.
an hour and a half. I'm just at least.
Yes.
And she's like, really? I'm like, oh yeah, there is a lot to talk about. So yes.
Well, if it was Zan and I talking, 1 hour and a half, that would be like, that's an every average episode of Ghostwood right there. So, or if Karen Lindsay was still
Yes.
chatting with us, we'd be hitting the 2 hour mark easy. So that's no big deal for me. But I'm sure, Linda might get a little twitchy without
Yeah,
her Jess by her side.
exactly.
All right, so we don't want to do that. We don't want to upset Linda. Hopefully, she's doing well. By the way.
Yeah, she is doing much better and things are good. Well, and Chris Jackson said, hey, I'll take care of ordering us food, Dad. And so you just go have fun talking Doctor Who, Doctor What, D Who, D What, as he often says.
Okay.
Yeah, he calls it D Who, D What? D Who, when he's talking about Doctor Who. So,
Well,
with Charles.
glad to see Chris stepping up because,
Yes.
just we got to talk some Doctor Who here. And this is
Yes.
a big one. And we got lots to cover. And I'm going to need full Jesse on this one. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, you can take care of the food there, Chris. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right. So guest cast, it's pretty much the same cast as last time, with the possible exception of a new character, a very apparently important character introduced this time. The actress Salen Baxter as Tecteun, a previously unrevealed character of quite significance, introduced into the mythos. She's been on an episode of Outlander. Apart from that, not much else of note.
Okay.
And we got the return of Joe Martin as the fugitive doctor in a very interesting cameo. And of course, we got a lot more of Sacha Dhawan as the Eighth Master. He just showed up in a cameo appearance last time at the very end, but here we get full Master in this one. And Sacha Dhawan chewing up the scenery like nobody's business.
And
in this one, we'll talk about that, of course.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So trivia this time. Just kind of want to address some stuff right off the bat because there's a lot of backstory with this one as far as Doctor Who lore. In this one, there's we get the reference, and we'll talk more about this in our segments about the pre-William Hartnell incarnations. This idea was first hinted at in 1976's The Brain of Morbius, which is something we've talked about here on Next Stop Everywhere with John Takis, and a rather very fun discussion I had with him. So hi, John, if you're listening. Hopefully you are. So everybody check out, if you want to learn about the Brain of Morbius, definitely check out our Next Stop Everywhere episode about that because I thought we had a really good discussion. And in this one, there was like this mind-bending contest between the Fourth Doctor and Morbius, which showed 8 faces portrayed by various Doctor Who production personnel. And and that was the first time this was hinted at. It's been a kind of a little bit of, well, is this canon? Is it not? Debate. And apparently now it's canon. So,
the question that no one except hardcore Whovians cares about. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I jump ahead? I did find, I will add another trivia. According to what I read, they were hoping to get actually celebrities to be those cameos, and they weren't able to do it. So as you mentioned, they just did people that were behind the scenes. And I think that would have been cool if you could have gotten, different actors of different things in there, just using their faces. That would have been kind of fun.
Yeah. But, this is something that this is an idea that was introduced and way back in the 70s. And so now it basically been developed now, and we'll talk about this more in our segments, but to its fullest, basically amped it up to 11. And to use this is Spinal Tap reference, because
Yes.
this has got a lot of story potential, and with a lot of like missing background, a lot of new ground to cover, and yours truly very excited by this, but as we'll talk about. Also, this is the second time the theme music's been used in the actual TV story. The first time, when in the scene where the 13th Doctor's in the Matrix, and basically using her memories, her mind, to kind of short circuit the Matrix so that she can escape from it. The first time, interestingly enough, was in Jodie Whittaker's first episode, The Woman Who Fell to Earth. So
nice.
Little bit of trivia there. And for anybody wondering about Sharmas taking the place of the Doctor and being, sacrificing his life for the Doctor, that's not the first time that's happened. There's been other times, like the Ninth Doctor offering to light a match to stop the Gelth for the sake of, and Gwyneth takes his place. So she died in The Unquiet Dead, if you remember that from the Eccleston era.
Absolutely.
There's a character in the Sixth Doctor era called Orsini, who, despite the Sixth Doctor's protest, chose to hand detonate a bomb to destroy Davros's Daleks in Revelation of the Daleks, and there's other instances. So if anybody may be upset about that, well, hey, it's happened before. So that argument negated. And we'll talk about a little bit more about some other stuff here, but I think we need to jump right into our topics because there's just so much ground to cover. So I'm going to shut up about the backstory and the trivia and all that. Let's talk into, we got 4 topics I want to cover. I tried to break this down as simply as I could because there's a lot here to absorb. Topic number 1, I want to talk about the Doctor and the Master. Topic number 2, I want to talk about Tecteun, the Timeless Child, and the secret origin of the Time Lords. Topic number 3, I want to talk about the Fam, Sharmas, and the Last Humans. And topic number 4, I want to talk about Ashad, the Cybermen, and the Cybermasters.
Okay.
So that covers pretty much the major points, I think. And I'm sure
I think so.
And a lot of stuff will cross over, but I think that's a good way to break it down. What do you think?
I agree.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So topic number 1, the Doctor and the Master. Obviously, it's the Doctor Who's version of Sherlock Holmes versus Professor James Moriarty. The arch rivalry that's gone all the way back since the Pertwee era, or earlier if you're a big Finnish audio adventure fan, and a lot of history with these characters. Once again, we've got, following up from Spyfall, we've got the return of Sacha Dhawan's Master, facing off against the 13th Doctor, and finally coming through with his previously teased statement that everything you knew is a lie. And guess what? It was. He paid off on that. And so I'm looking forward to getting your thoughts on the Doctor and the Master, Jesse.
So we always kind of let me go first. Mm-hmm. So for a change of pace, because I do think we are going to have vastly different opinions about this episode. So I'd like you to go first and tell me what you liked about this.
Okay. What about the episode or about the Doctor and the Master?
This topic. Yeah, this topic.
Okay, this topic. What I liked is, all right, on top of, just the Master tormenting the Doctor once again, we get an explanation that was teased earlier in the season about the Master's destruction of Gallifrey, why he flipped out and killed all the Time Lords.
So why, in your opinion, did he do that?
Well, in the show's opinion, he states that he basically, now first you have to keep in mind the Master is insane.
Yes.
Okay. First and foremost, that's been established. He's nuts.
Right.
But he explains it as to the Doctor. He states clearly that the reason he was upset is because he found out that the Doctor was the basis for all Time Lords, and therefore some small part of the Doctor is in him, which he finds so repellent. And this was, this big secret that the Time Lords kept. And as a result, basically it's the foundation for their very society. And when the Master stumbled across these secrets, just hacking around in the Matrix, like he talked about, it basically drove him right over the edge. Because his mortal archenemy, who he hates so much, and especially in this incarnation, it just tipped him right over the edge, and he's like, that's it. Everybody dies for this.
So, and he also said that he always resented the Doctor acting like they were special, and
yes.
now then turned out they were.
Yes. Because the Master's always seen himself as being better than the Doctor.
Yes.
Yes. So there's ego involved as well.
I guess, and I mean, nothing I say is going to, because you can just counter argument with, well, he's insane, Jesse, and I get that,
right? But
I don't buy that as enough of a motivation to kill everyone in Gallifrey. I just don't buy that. Now, that's what they're saying it is, and that's the reason, but I don't buy that. He's tried
to kill Gallifrey before.
I get that, and I'm just saying they did not sell me in that story. I do not like this Master. I don't like it. He's too insane. He's too out there. It's just I don't enjoy watching the character rant and rave, and it is not a performance I enjoy. I think the best villains are the heroes in their own story, and the best villains are someone you can see their side of it, and there is no side of this. This is just he's bat blank crazy, and therefore he's burning it all, and I just don't enjoy that version of the Master. And I realize that's happened way back, and with David Tennant, where he changes everyone to look like him.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't like that storyline. I just thought it was stupid, and so I just don't. That's the first problem I have with the episode.
So you would equate Sacha Dhawan's Master with John Sims' Master?
Yes, except worse,
even
more crazy.
Yeah.
And I guess
why can't the Master be crazy?
He can. That's their show. They can do it. Okay. I just enjoy. I thought Missy was crazy.
Yeah.
And also did some crazy things, but not as crazy as that. And just it's a personal reference. That's what I said.
Yeah. I get that. I get that. I get if it's not your personal taste.
Yeah, that's it. That's totally. I'm not saying they're wrong.
Right.
I'm just saying it isn't a character I enjoy watching.
Okay. Well, you can take consolation that eventually the Master will regenerate into somebody else. So hopefully you'll like the next Master better.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So let me see where I can jump back into this. The Master, basically in this episode, this is where he comes through and lays out all the stuff that he's been teasing, or he teased at the beginning of Series 12. And talks about why he flipped out and murdered all the Time Lords. Or did he? We don't really know exactly the events because we didn't see them. So there may be more to the story. I hope there's more to the story. But if not, it's just a question of somebody snapping. Like, if you go into work someday and you shoot up your office, that's basically what happened here, only on a Time Lord scale.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. And so the Master basically reveals to the Doctor that, bottom line, that she's the timeless child. We'll talk about that more in our next segment.
Okay.
And the Doctor is obviously, understandably, rocked off her core by this. So what did you make of Jodie Whittaker's performance? especially considering, that she's in prison for a good chunk of the episode in this kind of paralysis, barrier or whatever you want to call it. And essentially has to, emote and her frustration, and then her scenes inside the Matrix, trying to process all this.
So it was okay. I mean, I like Jodie Whittaker. I like her as the Doctor.
Right.
I think she is. I enjoy watching her performances.
Right.
I just didn't like this story, and she, her being stuck.
Yeah.
In that prison, what would have helped me a little bit,
Yeah.
Charles?
Yeah.
Just a little bit. When she's arguing with the master.
Yeah.
And she's saying, "This is my life. I remember it." She doesn't say, "I remember my wife. I remember my."
You mean her life?
Yeah. I remember, when I grew up as a child. I remember getting married. I remember having children. I remember Susan, my grandchild.
Yeah.
No, we don't get any of that.
Well, she talks about, she has memories. She talks about how she had memories of the master in the academy together on Gallifrey, and the master turns around and says, "Hey, all those memories still happened. It just wasn't your first life."
Yeah, and I would have liked them to give a little more, because that's what I'm curious about.
Mm-hmm.
I've never cared one whit of why Time Lords can regenerate. Never. I haven't ever cared about that. I don't care about that. I don't think that is something that
you don't find that intriguing.
No, I don't find it at all intriguing.
Okay, because do you understand why a lot of people do find it intriguing?
Absolutely, and that's why I believe that a lot of this divide are classic Who fans and new Who fans. I am a new Who fan.
Yeah.
So I don't care. What I want to know is reveal should change the character or explain why the character does something.
Yeah.
I love when you see flashbacks.
Well, this reveal definitely does change what the Doctor does. How the Doctor perceives herself, because the Doctor thought, "Hey, I've only been around for 15 different incarnations,"
but
and
behavior. Is she going to stop traveling in the TARDIS?
No, but she's going to question. She's going to question herself in her lost memories. But why were they? Why, basically, you're like, what if you found out that there was this hidden part of your past that you knew nothing about? Like you had a chunk of it, amnesia,
right?
And you lost part of your memory from, say, the time you were, like a very small kid up until, like, say, you're 30 years old.
Yes.
And you had no memory of that life.
Yes.
And then you finally saw, you realize that, you learn that, oh, this was my life. There was more to this. And don't you think that would be some kind of a shock to you?
Absolutely. And what would happen is I would go and try to find out about that.
Right.
And so I would be going and visiting people from my unknown childhood and trying to visit. I would trying to be researching that. Yeah. I would be trying to know about that. This show's not going to do that.
You don't know
Next season isn't. I'm just guessing right now. I'm putting it down there. Yeah. Because it's not the format. The format is the Doctor goes through adventures.
Yeah.
In space and time. They're not going to do this. This isn't going to all of a sudden become a deep psychological series about finding what it means to be the Doctor. So I feel like this is it. You don't think
they're going to see that we're going to see the fugitive Doctor again?
Maybe, but we don't know what that means. They didn't explain that whatsoever.
Well, that's one of the questions that the Doctor asked at the very end is, like, how do you fit into all this? And so if Chibnall is doing a 3-season arc, there could be payoffs next season. We don't know yet.
Absolutely. And last week when we talked, I said I'm hoping there's going to be a payoff.
Right.
And then I will go back. I did not get enough of payoff for me.
Okay, well, I mean, I got a payoff. I got enough of it.
I know that, and that's why I want to stress. I am not trying to convince you to change your mind whatsoever.
I think you are.
No, I'm thrilled that you love this so much. Yeah. I'm just I'm explaining to you why I'm not, and you don't even have to agree with it. You can go, Jesse, you are crazy. You are as crazy as the Mastiff for thinking that.
Yeah.
I'm going, okay, if she was first off, if she came before, and by the way,
Yeah.
I don't know who did the Reddit image that you tweeted out
Right
yesterday.
Here? Right here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, you're not showing up on video. I'm just seeing.
Oh, you can't? Oh,
yeah, I'm not seeing you whatsoever.
Oh, okay, because I can see you. So,
yeah.
All right. Well,
Okay.
let me turn it off and turn it back on, see if that works.
Okay. Anyway.
All right. Does that work?
No, you're still. Oh, there you are. Yay! There's your handsome face.
Yeah.
So yes, that was fascinating. I spent time looking at that.
Yeah.
And loved reading it. So, but.
Yeah, I posted on our Facebook page for anybody wondering what we're talking about here. This guide to the doctor, which I think is very, very helpful.
Yeah, it kind of talks about the different.
For anybody confused about not keeping their doctor straight.
Yeah, the different categories of doctors.
The eras.
Eras, yes, even a better word.
Yeah. Because just give a little setup here. Let me. It gets broken into 6 eras. This Reddit user, and I think I like the way this is classified. There's like the foundling era, which is essentially the timeless child and those other 5 child incarnations, and then
let me stop you there, Charles.
Right,
just
okay.
you were going to say this, but just in case,
go ahead.
And what he's done is he's done a screen grab of every actor, the image of the person playing those different and putting them on there. Yes.
Yeah. So you can kind of identify who's who. And then it goes to the division era, which is something that's introduced, and we're definitely going to talk about this. So this is like something brand new ground to explore that apparently the doctor, thanks to the master, that apparently before she left Gallifrey as the first Doctor, William Hartnell, she had a life as part of this Black Ops group on Gallifrey for a group called the Division that apparently essentially like does the anti-Starfleet move. The Time Lords say, well, we've got this policy of non-interference in worlds and times, and this is the off the books we're going to interfere in this,
right? Which
is something that the show had kind of done here and there throughout the decades, teasing okay, well, maybe there's always like these rogue elements in Time Lord society, and so this is something brand new, and there's various doctors here, and this is kind of where this Reddit user grouped the Brain of Morbius doctors as well,
right,
and put them in there because this is brand new ground, so there's a lot of question marks here. Mm-hmm. And this is just an attempt to try to start to organize this. Then you have the fugitive era with the fugitive doctor, who appears to be a much more recent doctor and may be set before William Hartnell as well. We don't know because we need to find out more about the fugitive doctor. And then you have the Time Lord era, which is the original 13 incarnations of the Doctor. Yeah. That everybody knows, including the War Doctors and the Meta-Crisis Doctor, aka the Waste of Regeneration from the Russell T Davies era, and then you have what's called the Timeless era, and I really like the classification for this. Yeah, the Time Lord era is where apparently the Doctor had a limited regeneration cycle, and then the Timeless era is where the Doctor has presumably an unlimited regeneration cycle again. Right. And so we start that off with Peter Capaldi's Doctor and Jodie Whittaker's Doctor. Right. And I'm sure we'll add many, many more in the years to come. Yeah. And then you skip all the way to the end for the retired era with the curator, Tom Baker's Doctor that was in the Day of the Doctor. Yeah. As a way to explain him. Yeah, which I love everything about that. Yeah, so I think that's a great way to organize them so far. Yeah. So until we learn more. Here's what I would have liked. I would have liked us not to go into the story that and we're kind of skipping to the next category. Yeah. So okay. Right. The whole
there was a Gallifreyan that went out exploring the world.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Only one, yeah.
Just
And then the children do, and then we find out that there's all these, the adopted mother is experimenting and killing off these kids or doing something. You see them all go through their different changes.
Yeah.
And then that's how we discovered regenerations for the Doctors, for Time Lords.
Right.
I don't care about any of that. I just it doesn't interest me. It does. I don't. I first off, like, okay,
so
we're killing off these kids for no reason.
Yeah.
This means nothing. Now, what does interest me?
Okay.
Go ahead, Charles.
Well, I was gonna say, if this is in Star Trek terms, that would be essentially the origins of Starfleet. Yeah. And you wouldn't be interested in something like that if this was Star Trek. Learning about the origins of Starfleet.
I did not end up sticking with Enterprise. I ended up not watching Enterprise because I just didn't. I found it boring, and I thought it was a bad story time. I didn't think it was their good story time.
Well, at least you're consistent.
I love me some Scott Bakula, and I felt guilty about it, but I didn't think it was a good story. Okay. Now, what intrigues me is the idea that the Doctor, whatever they're going to call him or her, this Time Lord, for the sake of argument, let's call them the Doctor.
Right.
Being in this spy organization. Yeah. And going through all that and then having an awakening that the things that he or she are doing are not what they should. Right. And you end up becoming the fugitive Doctor. Right. That storyline intrigues the heck out of me. Right. Like, what did this Doctor do that was how horrible, or the events were they? What did we have to do? So
you do see the story potential in this.
I see that story potential a lot. I don't think the show will do that. I don't think that they will have the courage to go back and do that and show the Meade character being, our Doctor being someone who is not necessarily a good character.
Yes. But if someone wanted to tell that story in an episode at some point future, now they can, because it's been established. Right?
So I agree. Hang on just a minute.
Okay.
I'll just eat a sandwich. Just go ahead.
Okay.
Okay.
As we grind things to a complete halt for dinner plans.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. All right. So let's see here. So the Doctor is also having to face losing her companions, at least for a very brief time until Christmas, where she has to, in order to say, one of the things I really liked about this was that the Doctor makes the effort to make sure that her companions get home safely.
Yes, I agree with that. That's really nice.
There's a great sequence where, they basically, the Doctor steals another TARDIS, so to speak, and sends, the fam with the last remaining humans that weren't killed by the Cybermen off, and to send them on a pre-programmed flight to Earth, gets them back home. So she gets her fam back home, and feeling that, this could go sideways. I may not come out of this, but I want to make sure you get home and you're safe.
I love that part of the storyline.
Right.
I thought it was great to see the TARDIS looking like a building, when it lands.
Yeah, like a Sheffield house. Yeah.
Yes. I do have the questions. Our two survivors. Yeah. Where are they going to live? How are they going to make a living? How are we going to get whatever is the version of Britain's Social Security card? I have those questions that will not be answered because, once again, doesn't matter. We moved on. That would be interesting. Yeah. So, and don't get me wrong, I'm glad they didn't die. I think that could be interesting. Yeah. I do not have faith in the show that they're going to come back and deal with that.
Do they need to?
I think so. put this. I'm
Yeah.
more intrigued by that
Yeah.
than I am how regeneration was created.
Yeah. See, and I could do a complete Jesse here and go like, I have zero interest in
Yes,
finding out how
exactly.
about the last humans.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Right.
It is, I want to know more about, the doctor's background, and I want to know more about the fugitive doctor, and I want to know, I want to know, so many questions right now. I've got I can't even articulate these properly.
Sure.
That just bursting because of this whole new continuity playground that's been opened up. It's like someone's like Chibnall has gotten this key and he's unlocked this secret room, and there's all this cool stuff inside that can be now played with.
And
that we didn't even know we wanted, and it's there to play with if you want to.
And I am so thrilled that you're that happy.
Yeah.
I have no interest in playing with those toys. Okay. I mean, that's what I'm saying.
You have no interest in seeing oh, hey, there's a future incarnation of the Doctor, or a previous incarnation of the Doctor who could be important to a specific story at some future point, giving a little bit more of the mystery of the Doctor. And no,
I have no interest whatsoever.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. I have some practical questions.
Yeah.
Like, why is the fugitive Doctor's TARDIS looks like a police box?
Maybe the TARDIS likes looking like a police box.
No, that is totally, we've not established that.
Maybe
that William Hartnell, when he stole the TARDIS.
Yeah.
Now if you establish
what if if the fugitive Doctor had previously been on Earth, and at the time in the 1960s the TARDIS took on the form of a police box, there's no reason why it couldn't have taken that again and then got stuck, right? Okay. It's time travel.
Okay. Lamest theory ever.
Why is that lame?
Why would it set it as a police box? Why would she bury it in the dirt?
Yeah.
And then the only reason
we don't know yet.
Box,
there's more to. Yeah. We could. There may be a reason for this.
Yeah. Yeah. I have no faith that they're going to pay that off well.
Well, I have more faith in you because I'm that kind of an optimist to your pessimism.
That's right.
All right. So keep hope alive, everybody.
Absolutely.
As someone I used to know used to say.
Absolutely.
Once upon a time before he got all Captain Grumpy on me. All right. So the Master, I mean, obviously you stated perfectly your opinion about the Master. Yeah. So do you think the Master, do you think we've seen the last of this incarnation of the Master following the events with the Death Particle and taking out the Master, presumably somehow, and the Cybermasters? Or do you think this incarnation will return again at some point?
I don't know, and I don't care because I don't like that Master.
Right.
See, I feel like that once again they're going to the well again. Yeah. We had Jim, the Sims, and Missy. I'm drawing a blank on the actress who played her.
Michelle
Gomez.
They
had this, Michelle Gomez. They had where they're both dead, and we don't know how they'll survive, and they came back. So we've already had one reveal of that. I just don't care because I dislike this Master so much.
Okay.
And he doesn't even make any sense.
Yeah.
Like, why would he not, if he's going to take over the world, why wouldn't he want Gallifrey to be there to see him mastering the world?
Because he hates them so much. It's like it's like somebody who kills their parents and then goes off to commit another crime.
Okay, I get that.
Okay,
yeah,
but that's basically it. It's like I'm pissed off at my family, so I'm going to kill my family, and then I'm going to go to work and I'm going to kill them.
Okay, good deal.
Okay, all right, all right. So let's move on. Topic number 2, Tecteun and the Timeless Child, and then the secret origin of the Time Lords. Now, obviously, Jesse stated again, I don't care about this. So I guess you could take a nap during this segment. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So Tecteun Tecteun. So basically, what we get revealed in this story, there's we get an explanation for the timeless child that was teased again at the beginning of the season of series 12, and then also hinted at in the Ghost Monument last season. And
now, Charles,
yes,
remind me how we were teased about this.
in the in series 11, we had the remnants mentioning to the Doctor about the timeless child, which kind of struck up.
How did they know about it then?
We don't know how they knew about it. Apparently, they're a long-lived race. Somehow they knew about it.
Okay.
Okay.
Isn't that convenient? See, I think that's bad storytelling.
Okay.
Yeah. Continue, Charles.
Okay. Well, all right.
So how else has this been given? How
Okay,
else
all
have
right.
they seen this?
Okay. Earlier again in the season, we had the Doctor having those brief flashes of a young black girl. This was during Orphan 55, if you recall.
Yes.
Where, and the Doctor, was puzzled by this.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out that memory, that flash that we saw, and everybody did a quick freeze frame of that young girl wondering, okay, who is this? Is this the timeless child? Guess what? Yes, it was the timeless child.
So after 1,000 years, she
Yes.
has a memory link. What caused the memory link?
I will tell you, because
Okay,
the
please.
master said, I'm transmitting these stuff through the Matrix. So I could, he makes this comment that like, I'm in the Matrix, I'm sending you the Matrix so that this will get you to start, try to hopefully jumpstart your memories and think about this.
So was this established
This
in
is him.
classic Who that this Matrix thing happened and their mental powers that we've just recently seen this season in modern Who?
The Matrix definitely happened. That's something I'm
Okay.
going to be talking about in my Reverse the Polarity segment.
I don't know if we're going to have time for reverse polarity.
Well, we'll
because
see.
we're going to spend
But
continue.
yes, but yeah,
Yes,
to sum it up, it was in the Tom Baker era and also the Colin Baker era.
Okay.
So yes,
And
This is
have we
established-
established
this is established lore. Yes.
and am I missing that the modern era they have not done the Doctor having the superpower to talk to another mentally to another Time Lord, right? We didn't see a lot that in this modern era, but you're telling me that is something established in the classic era.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good deal.
So this is essentially Chibnall bringing back old concepts, just like Stephen Moffat did, just like Russell T Davies.
Not criticizing, but
Yeah.
once again, that's why
Yes.
I'm saying,
Yes.
as a classic Who fan,
Yeah.
you're going to be happier because you're like, oh my goodness, they've done that. Well,
Right.
I'm like, oh, I don't care because I didn't have any link to it before.
When you don't think, well, hey, that's cool. I want to learn more about this.
No, I don't.
No. Okay. Well, you're on the wrong podcast, buddy.
Yeah, no, I'm not because you're holding my hand through this, and I think if you write it right, you can.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know who Sarah Jane Smith was
Right.
when I watched School Reunion,
Right.
but I knew something was going on, and I wanted to know more about that.
Well, the way the thing with this episode,
Yeah.
And I get why some people are having problems with this, is because a lot of this episode is exposition because it has to be, because there's so much. This thing is very involved. It's basically like if like back in the Stephen Moffat era, Moffat used to get a lot of criticisms because if you remember, everybody thought, well, hey, these episodes need to be simpler. Because there's all these convoluted explanations for everything that don't always pan out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Chibnall came up with this idea, and it's a very involved idea. So it took a lot of time to lay out, which is why the Doctor ends up in this paralyzed, paralysis cell for a good chunk of it, so that the Master could lay this exposition on her and go like, okay, well, this happened, and lead the audience through it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it takes a lot of time setting up and explaining.
Sure.
And that's because this is the story he wanted to tell.
And I am glad he wanted to tell the story.
Right.
What I'm saying, and I don't mind exposition,
Right.
but it's got to be about a story or a plot that I care about.
Right.
And in this case, I didn't care about the plot or the storyline.
Okay, but do you realize that Doctor Who can't always carry to what you want? It has to carry to what a lot of other people want too.
Absolutely, Charles. But the purpose of this podcast is for you and I to discuss our opinions of the episode.
I get that.
And so, yes, that's what I said. I am not judging.
Because it's not just about what I want either.
Right.
It's
I'm not saying what I'm not saying anything that I am right or correct in anything except my opinion.
Yeah. See,
I don't think God's a Monster or whatever is that bad of an episode. And you don't even want to watch the episode. You hate it so much. And I don't try to convince you otherwise because that's your opinion. So this is the same thing.
Episode.
I know. Yeah, in 500, episode 500.
Yeah, episode 500.
In our 5 episodes, yes.
Exactly.
So anyway, yeah. So,
well, I think, a lot of fans, I think, and I think this is where a lot of the fans, this frustration sets in, is because a lot of fans, they view Doctor Who and they have their.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can now. Good.
Okay. All right. So as long as we're good. Okay. Because I didn't get any connection issues. All right. So a lot of fans get, they get this frustration because they think Doctor Who should cater exactly to what they want.
Absolutely.
And Chris Chibnall, and this is where being the Doctor Who showrunner is, it's really a thankless job because
absolutely
he has so many people to please. And because Doctor Who fandom is so diverse, he can't possibly make everybody happy.
Absolutely.
It's impossible.
And sneak peek.
Yes.
Or just let me do a slide, kind of side.
Yes.
I ended up talking to Ron Martz from DC Comics and Marvel and CrossGen and everything.
Because he did a bunch of cool. He was a great run on Green Lantern. He did lots of other things for DC.
He was on. I recorded him. He'll be out in a couple of weeks on Set Listing Bruce. And when we talked comics, he said, "I don't want to make anyone mad, but I write for an audience of one. I write the story I want to tell.
Right.
And I hope that I make it as entertaining as possible,
right,
and as interesting as possible that other people will. But I'm my only audience because I'm the only one I really understand." And I agree with that. And
that's what Chris Chibnall's trying to do here.
Absolutely.
Because
and
this is the story he wants to tell.
I applaud that. And I really thought about not being so vocal about my my unhappiness.
Yeah.
Because I don't want this to be viewed as, well, I don't like Jodie, or I don't like Chibnall, or I think we should change story runners, because I have loved many of these episodes. I love Jodie as the Doctor. I mean, and so I applaud him going back to classic Who and coming up with this storyline. I applaud that, and I'm glad for it. I'm just telling you from my perspective, he didn't execute it in a way that made me care.
Okay.
Now, down the road, it might.
Right.
I'm certainly going to keep watching Doctor Who.
Okay. Well, that's good.
I probably, maybe if I go back and watch, I've never seen the Morbius episode, The Brain of Morbius. Maybe if I did, I would understand more. Maybe they'll end up paying back. Remember, I didn't like Donna. And then when I started going back and watching episodes, I went, oh, I see what she's doing there. So, yeah, these are, in my mind, and this is just me, not you.
Okay.
This episode was a mistake of ambition. In other words,
so
he's swinging for the fences.
Yeah.
And I don't think he did it. But I applaud that he didn't stay safe.
Right.
He tried to do something great. And to a lot of you, audience, it was great.
It was.
And they loved it. And so I'm so happy for that, because I don't want my Doctor Who showrunner to be safe.
Right.
I want him or her to go for the fences.
Right. So do you at least respect the ambition attempt?
Oh, I definitely respect the ambition.
Okay.
And I will tell you, if you could take away the whole reveal about the secret unknown history of Gallifrey.
Mm-hmm.
This is a great episode. Just the parts that aren't that was a really good episode.
See, I'm one of the kind of guys that, speaking of DC Comics, I'm the kind of guy that loves secret origin stories. And this is what this episode is. This is a secret origin story. This is the secret origin of the Time Lords, like I talked about in my topic name. And in this one, so we find out that Time Lord Society was caused by this scientist, Tecteun, going out into space, exploring space, has huge curiosity, ends up on this planet where there just happens to be this gateway. And this little girl who is, just kind of right outside the gateway, presumably abandoned. No one seems to be coming for her. So Tecteun takes the kid in as her and starts raising it as her own and as her own child. And then something tragic happens when the timeless child ends like playing with a friend, and the timeless child ends up falling over a cliff. Backwards. And which is kind of why we saw Brendan falling over a cliff, because it was essentially, as we get revealed, Brendan, that whole business was a false memory created by Tecteun. And so as a possible clue to help the Doctor learn more about her origins. And the timeless child grows up. After dying, we get the very first regeneration on Gallifrey. So we find that out. And so anybody wondering, well, okay, how did this whole regeneration business started? Now we know how it starts, because
we don't.
Yes,
we just know the first time it happened. We don't know what was caused it. We don't know why it was. We don't know where this child came from. We did not get a secret origin. See, that's my story. This is like Superman year one, but not giving us any details.
Do you realize that this show is called Doctor Who? It has to retain some sense of mystery. You can't tell everything, because if you did, you'd be like, oh, that's the Doctor. That would be the title of the show. That's the Doctor, but it's Doctor Who. You have to leave chunks for things to explore years, possibly decades down the road.
Yeah, but
we still don't know why the Doctor ended up in a junkyard.
Right, but
all these years later.
My point, Charles, is you're saying this is a secret origin.
Yes.
And I'm saying, no, it's not, because they didn't give enough answers for it to be a secret origin.
Well, I say it is a secret origin. Okay. It's not as detailed. It doesn't cover everything, because, hey, this show's already this episode's already like 80 minutes. Yeah. So, unless you want to plan this out for an entire season.
Yeah.
And Jesse being miserable for an entire season.
Yes.
Then you have to cut it somewhere and get it to a manageable level.
Right.
So the manageable level is you start with the mystery of well, hey, here's this kid. And then you have that showed up out of this gateway. And then you can ask questions later well, who is this kid's parents? How did it, what race did they come from? And those are questions that, again, present story opportunities that as a writer, I'm I want to develop this at some future point. I would love to. Sure. But and hopefully at some point other writers will flesh out some of this stuff, and then we'll learn more secrets about something else.
Sure.
You got to keep that mystery going. That's something, especially if you're a David Lynch fan. David Lynch loves a mystery. Even with Twin Peaks, he would wrap up mysteries, but then would offer up new ones as cliffhangers to keep the audience talking about the show and speculating.
And where we disagree, is I do not think they wrapped up any mystery whatsoever. And I know you can tell me, yes, they did. They tell us where regeneration came from, where the Doctor, they wrapped it up. To me, that isn't a wrap up. They've not told a story. They have just given more mysteries, and there is not a payoff.
But that, again, the show is Doctor Who. It has to have mysteries.
I understand, Charles.
Yes,
but then
you're not going to get you are never going to get the full story on Doctor Who ever.
No, but you have to get a story. I understand
and
that.
the story
you can leave things wondering.
Well, they did. The story
no,
was
they
that
did not give an answer to me.
the story was the doctor finding out that she had lives before her first incarnation. That's the
Okay.
story. They
Okay.
told that story.
Okay.
As a writer, I can tell from beginning to end. I'm not playing the "I'm a writer" card.
Yeah. No, I understand.
This is like, I know story structure. This is the story of how the doctor finds out that she had a previous life that she didn't know about.
Okay. And that's a story I could care less about.
I get that.
Okay.
But there
so
was a
that's
story.
why I'm saying, okay.
From beginning to end. Now, whether you like the story or not, that's up to you.
Okay, that's fair.
But there was a story there.
I will agree that there was a story.
Okay.
And
right. I'll take that win and run with it.
Yeah, and I totally agree that some mysteries should not be answered.
Right. Like the doctor's name. With that. Like the doctor's name. We're never going to find out who the doctor's name.
But I would argue
ever, and we shouldn't.
But I would argue the secret origin of the Time Lords and Gallifrey was a question that 2 years ago someone would say that should never be answered.
Right.
That should never be answered. It's like if you gave us the doctor's name.
Yeah. Well, see, I love that stuff, so I wanted to know it. I'm sure Chris Chibnall obviously wanted to know it.
Yeah.
So it just depends on what you want told.
Right. I'm about character stories, and I don't think this was a character story whatsoever.
And I'm about mythos. And this was pure mythos right here.
Okay.
So I let you it's like I want to learn about Krypton if you're a Superman fan. I would like the whole series Krypton was like, okay, what happened on Krypton before the planet blew up?
Yes.
This is that story. This is like Krypton.
That's not that story whatsoever.
Yes, Charles. It is. You don't want to see it, but it is.
No, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
I did the podcast with you on this. This is not that story. They may tell that story later, but right now that is not that story.
Because this is the first installment of that story.
Then I just don't think
this is the introduction of the concept.
Yeah, don't like it.
Okay. So you want it all laid out in a single episode?
No, they have to make it as entertaining, and they have to make me care, and they did not make me care.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. I'm exhausted by this podcast already.
I
am emotionally drained by this already.
All right, what's the next category? I'll take lead.
Third topic.
Yes.
I didn't really get to talk about that, but okay.
No, go ahead.
I guess we talked about it.
I want you to share whatever you want to.
The fam and I went to Kosharmus and the last humans. Yes. So we had Yaz and Graham.
Hold on. Take a rest. Take a drink.
No.
We've got them. They're stuck in the thing. I loved everything about this story. This was great. I love the idea of Graham coming up with I got a bad idea, but it's the only idea on the table, and I'm like, we're going to dress up like Cybermen. Mm-hmm. That was amazing. Mm-hmm. I love his heartfelt discussion to Yaz. And Yaz going, you're okay too. And he's like, what? He goes, hey, from where I'm from, that was a love letter.
So I love that. I love that scene with Yaz and Graham.
Oh, I love that scene so much. It was amazing. I love the how the humans keep fighting. I love the sacrifice.
You like
the doctor was ready.
The doctor was ready to take out the master and the cyber masters, but struggled with it and was having trouble because it's the doctor. Yes. These are still my people, and and I'm not sure I can do this. And then Kosharmus shows up and it's like, kill Cybermen. I'm all about that, and I need penance for letting the Cyberium loose.
Yeah.
Out into the open. So he's like, okay, I got this one. You get home. The universe needs you, Doctor.
Yes.
And
I love everything about that. That was it was touching. It was emotional. Right. It was just, it was suspenseful. And we get the setup of the mystery of how do the fam interact? Like, they don't know if the doctor survived.
Right.
And I love that they told us in advance that we are getting a holiday episode. I would have been even better if they'd said Christmas Day, but I may have to let that go.
Well, they haven't
But
they haven't set a specific date yet.
no,
They didn't
they
say
have
new.
called it a
They
holiday.
said because Chibnall has gone on record saying, "Well, it's not up to me. It's up to the BBC.
Yes.
Presumably, it's going to be sometime between Christmas and New Year's." So it's basically up to the BBC to decide, hey, it's going to be airing on Christmas Day or it's going to be airing on New Year's Day.
Yeah, I'm just so excited to see that. I assume you've already said, Charles, you love that discussion, but just the sacrifice, the work between that, seeing them work together, they're just. I love these companions so much, and I know we've got news that we're going to talk about later.
Yeah,
but that was.
Ryan makes his big basketball move like we talked about. I said, if you remember me saying way back when Series 12 started, that they made such a big deal, Chibnall did, about Ryan not making a basket. I said, didn't I say that at some point he's going to be making a basket? And sure enough, he does that because he hurls this kind of basketball-shaped grenade at the Cybermen and makes the shot, so he blows some of them up. And he's all happy. He's like,
I'm the man. Who's the man?
I stopped the Cybermen. And then, of course, another platoon of execution units, Cybermen come over the hill and start firing at him. But that was good. So
was awesome.
Again, that was Chibnall paying off something he introduced at the beginning of the season brings it full circle at the end of the season.
Absolutely.
So,
great
all right,
stuff.
just like he did with the bike in Series 11.
Absolutely. Great stuff.
Yeah. All right. Anything else about the fam or Coach Sharmus or the Last Humans in this one?
No, like I said, I think it was great, and I love the that we did get a couple of survivors.
Yeah.
And I'm just picking Charles. I truly do not expect them to give one moment of film time on how they immerse themselves in modern society. I'm just joking with that. That is very boring TV. It just kind of struck me as, wow, we never see after the fact. What do you do? Hi, yeah, I'm from the future.
Right.
I've been rescued, and now I need, I need to get my Social Security card and my driver's license.
Well, I'm sure that's going to end up being like a series on Bravo at some point.
There we go.
All right. Or A&E or something.
Yeah.
All right.
A little more energy now. Are you feeling a little rejuvenated? Are you recharged a little bit?
I've been recharged.
All right.
I've been that way.
Well, you were saying a few minutes ago you were exhausted.
Well, that was just I've been emotionally drained ever since seeing your comments on Twitter. Okay. So this is just a 3-day payoff for that. The topic number 4, final topic: Ashad, the Cybermen, and the Cybermasters. So we get a conclusion to Ashad's story. It wasn't the conclusion that I wanted.
No, I think he was a great villain. I think they shortchanged him, making him a little action figure and getting blowing up.
Yeah.
I don't
like a pewter
know.
figure more than an action figure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
an in-action figure.
The master getting the whirling, what are they calling it? This Cyberarium or whatever? Yeah.
Oh, the Cyberium. Yeah. The thing that was introduced in The Haunting of Villa Diodati. Yeah. That was inside Percy Shelley, and then the Doctor. Everybody said, don't give the lone Cyberman what it wants, and the Doctor gives the lone Cyberman what it wants. And then having to deal with those consequences.
As much as I dislike this version of the Master, I did love him talking about, okay, that's a plan.
Right.
I've got a few notes for you.
Yeah.
Almost like he's, you're a producer or an editor going to, that's fabulous. But just play with me a little bit.
We find out Ashad's plan. Just to explain this a little bit, we found out Ashad's plan is okay, humanity sucks. So the reason I was tinkering with Cybermen at the end of Ascension of Cybermen last week is that I'm purging them of all their human elements. We're going full 100% mechanical, full robot here. And, and eventually my plan is that once everybody else is taken care of, I'm going to go full robot too. And then we're all going to be controlled by the Cyberium, which is going to be the AI that drives all of us. That was his plan. And the master, in pure master form, essentially is like, that's a good plan, not a great plan.
Yeah, exactly.
And because anybody could make themselves into a robot. And so he's just like, okay, so tell you what, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to take your Cyberium, and I'm going to show you how it's done. And that's what he does.
Yes.
Because, hey, I'm the big bad. You're just like, the guy that's been in the past few episodes. So I get why it's very consistent with the master.
Absolutely.
Because the master's got to be the guy behind everything.
And he's crazy.
And he, that's what he does. That's what he's always done. Shrinking people without a by your leave. And then but for Ashad, I was disappointed because, as I've talked about, I thought he was a very intriguing villain. And hopefully somebody can reverse, because presumably he's still just a little. It'd be great if you could reverse that and have him bring him back at some point in the future.
Wouldn't they all be blown up though when they push the big
well, presumably
the button? Yeah, so wouldn't he be gone?
Unless because he was compressed.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Maybe if the compression saved him somehow.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I could think of. But I mean, it seems unlikely that they're going to bring it back.
Okay, so I have to ask you a question, Charles.
But I would like to see him
absolutely
see him bring it back at some point, if possible.
Yeah. All right.
It's fiction. Anything's possible.
Yeah, I know this answer.
Yeah.
But I still have to ask you.
Go ahead.
How happy
Yeah.
was your Doctor Who heart is seeing Time Lord hoods on the Cybermen? I mean, did your just little Doctor Who heart grow seven times bigger?
I was not wild about them being on the Cybermen.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it kind of looked, it didn't work because they don't look like Time Lords.
Okay.
So what I did like was, when we got to see the Time Lords earlier in the episode, where, they're telling the secret origin of the Time Lords, and hey, you see them donning those Time Lord robes with the high collars that I think are awesome. Yes. And no matter what anybody says, I think they're cool. And that's my opinion, and I'll stand by it. But
sure.
That also accentuated the master talking about the Time Lords being a pompous race.
Yes.
And, because, hey, we're going to call ourselves Time Lords. That's kind of pretty arrogant. Yeah. And, but apparently they felt that they were all powerful because they kind of were all powerful. And so, and that's probably one of the reasons why the Doctor ends up rebelling against them at some point, because the Doctor doesn't view the universe like as they do.
Yes. I love
because she's an outsider.
Yeah, I love the idea that they've taken, the Master's a hoarder, so he has all the bodies of the different Gallifreyans and Time Lords, and letting the Cybermen use that, and then having them kind of with that.
Which I kind of think was the plan all along, why he killed them.
Yeah.
That it wasn't just like that, okay, I talked about, yes, he went ahead and he flipped out and he killed everybody. But then he's like, probably after that initial rage, he's probably thinking, instead of just leaving these bodies lying around, I can use these. And then he comes up with this plan. Well, hey, the Cybermen are out there, because we know that he's met the Cybermen once or twice or three times before.
Okay.
And so he's like, well, if I get them in on this, and then I could do this little hybrid thing.
Yeah.
And wouldn't it piss off the Doctor? And this is what the main reason behind it. Wouldn't it piss off the Doctor if I took our own race and made them soulless Cybermen?
Yes.
That can never die and regenerate, or they keep regenerating, and even in their armor would regenerate.
Yes.
So
I thought that visual was cool.
as the ultimate FU to the Doctor.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Great storyline. And I love the way you explain it. I think you're right. The Master in anger kills these people.
Right.
And then afterwards starts thinking, well,
yeah,
I've got a bunch of broken eggs. Can I make an omelet?
Right.
Right. So, yes.
And that's what he does. So it just happens to be a very, red omelet because, as he talks about, the red carpet is dripped with the blood of of the Time Lords. Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Anything else about the Cybermen or the Cybermasters or Ashad or anything else?
So at the risk of draining your energy again, I did not think the payoff.
You just reminded me of what we do in the shadows. If you've ever watched What We Do in the Shadows.
No, I don't watch.
Okay. All right. Just look up Emotional Vampire and you'll see what
I don't think that was a good payoff to the Brandon storyline.
Okay.
We got the whole thing and now then just as a kind of that was the Doctor in a different life. I just don't think it was a very good payoff. Well,
it was misdirection. What it was, and whether you view it as effective or not, that's a judgment call, I think. Yeah. That's open to interpretation. Yeah. But what we find out in this that what we thought was an actual memory was just a false memory.
Yeah.
And it's a false memory that apparently is a clue left behind by Tecteun for the Doctor. And if you notice, they made a point of when the Doctor was, inside the Matrix and then sees Brendan being tortured as his memories are being erased.
Mm-hmm.
She looks down and there's this clock. And there's an inscription on the back of that clock. And apparently, so that would be a clue that maybe, hopefully, will be picked up again.
Is that the clock they gave him when he retired?
Yes. And there was an inscription.
What was the inscription?
I can't remember the exact inscription because when I was doing my rewatch, I had a really bad internet connection.
Okay.
And I couldn't make it out. So, but it's out there. So,
Good.
Maybe if I go upstairs, I've got it on my DVR. I'm sure it's much better quality there.
Okay.
And I'm sure I can get a better image.
Good.
But yeah.
Very nice.
But yeah. So presumably there's a clue. Hopefully, and hopefully we'll get some payoff on that in series 13.
Nice.
All right. Anything else about the episode?
No. Like I said,
he asked hesitantly.
Yeah. If you
nervously.
No.
My right eye is twitching.
Yes, absolutely. No. Let's move on.
Okay. All right. Best lines of the episode. Oh, do you have any lines that you liked?
No, I mean,
oh my God.
And mostly because, and let me explain why, Charles.
Okay. All right.
When I watched this on Sunday night, I was really disappointed.
Okay. Fair.
Very disappointed.
Okay.
And so then when I rewatched it Monday night, because last night was Super Tuesday and we were going to be all politics all the time.
Right.
So I knew I could not rewatch it.
Okay. So you didn't get a chance to write some lines.
So
down.
I focused. I said I'm not going to worry about making notes.
Mm-hmm.
I want to watch the episode to see am I unfairly judging this.
Okay.
And so I was really trying to be as emotionally engaged.
Okay.
I don't know if you wrote it down. And we've already talked about it. Graham and Yaz's. If I was going to write something down, I would write that, because I thought him telling her how much he admires her and how she's the strong one. And then she that was her version of Han Solo's I know.
Yes.
It was just really well done. So please give me some.
Okay.
That's the only reason I don't have any quotes because I was trying to do that.
All right. So for the sake of time, I'll just hit some highlights here. Let's see. The Master talking basically as they reach the Citadel inside Gallifrey, and the Master tells the Doctor, the Citadel, the heart of Gallifrey. Recognize the old place? I was thinking I might put a knock through there. I'm going to put a wet room there, a screening room over there, torture room in the cellar, naturally. So Thought that was pretty funny. Graham and Yaz, which that great conversation they had. Graham says, "Listen, Yaz, if we don't get out of this," and Yaz clearly states, and I really like this part, "we will get out of this."
Yes.
Very defiantly and confidently. Graham says, "Yeah, well, I know, but I'm just saying, if we don't, I want you to know I think you're such an impressive young woman. Never thrown by anything, always fighting." Yaz says, "Thanks." Graham continues, "You said to the doc you thought she was the best person you've ever met. Well, you know what, Yaz? I think you are. You ain't got a time machine or a sonic, but you're never afraid and you're never beaten. You know, I'm going to sound like a proper old man, but you're doing your family proud, Yaz. You really are. In fact, you're doing the whole human race proud."
That's nice. I love that.
Yeah, so that was great.
Yeah.
And the doctor butting heads with the master, where the doctor says, "Whatever you want with me, fine, but save my friends. Don't let the Cybermen take them. If the history between us means anything to you," and the master kind of cuts her off there and says, "I do believe you're appealing to my better nature, and we both know that I don't have one."
Yeah.
Very master-like line. And then, let's see, Ashad telling the master, "You question the strategy of the Cyberium?" And the master says, "I do. I mean, it's good, but it's not great. There's loads of robots. Throw a stick in the universe, you'll hit a robot. I used to do that. Any idiot can make themselves into a robot. It's not special. But if you want to be the dominant force in the universe, I can facilitate that."
Yeah, that was nice.
That was good.
That's real good.
All right. And then lastly, the doctor, being very defiant, says, "You think that makes me lesser? It makes me more. I contain multitudes more than I ever thought or knew. You want to make me scared of it because you're scared of everything."
Yeah, that was great. Absolutely.
Great line from the doctor.
Absolutely.
All right. Deep breath.
I don't even want to give you my score because I am just so worried that I don't know.
Give your score. Give your score. It's okay.
I give it 5 out of 10 overhyped storylines.
Okay. All right. 5 out of 10 overhyped storylines. Meanwhile,
yes.
I give
on the happy side of the street.
Yeah, yes. On the light side of the force.
Yes.
I give this one 9 out of 10 pre-Hartnell doctors.
Nice. I like that. That's very good.
So yeah, it wasn't a perfect 10, especially because I was not happy with the way Ashad got taken out.
Yeah.
And certain little things here and there, but nothing. Sure. Mostly of there's the Ashad that took off the point deduction for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
I agree.
All right. Reverse the polarity. I'm not going to go into the full thing because for the sake of time, we got a lot of feedback, and I think that's much more important.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to recommend, if you like this story, I highly, highly recommend you check out The Deadly Assassin, the third serial of season 14 in 1976, written by Robert Holmes, one of the great writers of the classic era. This is a Fourth Doctor story, the only story where he's solo without any companion whatsoever, where he goes back to Gallifrey after receiving a precognitive vision and about the assassination of the presidents of the Time Lords. And this is what the current master, Sacha Dhawan's master, references at various points in the story. He references the story because we have the Panopticon, we have the president being shot dead, where that's when he was talking about, hey, we assassinated presidents. And we get the introduction of the Matrix, a vast electronic neural network that can, of course, turn things into thoughts into virtual reality. And this is a very cool story. And we have the master essentially at his final incarnation, his 13th incarnation, and his body is decaying. He's desperate as hell to regenerate again. So his plan here is to suck up the energy from the Eye of Harmony and use that to jumpstart a new regeneration cycle. And he doesn't care if it destroys Gallifrey or not. because he's all just about himself.
This sounds familiar. Have we talked about this one?
I believe we have. So, which
Okay,
is
I
what
was
this,
like, yeah.
we've talked about it here in the podcast. You and I have talked about this.
I thought
We
as
actually
you
haven't.
described it.
So if
Yeah.
you want to go way back in the Next Stop Everywhere archives,
Yeah.
I highly recommend checking out The Deadly Assassin. Available wherever you have your downloads, your
Yeah.
finest downloads.
Absolutely.
So please check that out, because that was also a very fun discussion. And
I think if I remember, I liked the episode a lot.
yeah, it is a very cool. Lots going on in that one, and again, like this story, it's a lot of mythos
Yeah.
addition, because we got a lot of stuff added to the mythos in that one. So, so if you're like me, you're a big mythos guy, love to pile on the lore. The Deadly Assassin, highly recommended. It's a great story too. On top of it, all right. News time. Bradley Walsh and Tosin Cole, which we talked about at the beginning of the episode, they're leaving Doctor Who, but not just yet, because they're scheduled to be leaving not after the Timeless Children. They're going to be leaving after the holiday special, Revolution of the Daleks. Apparently, this is reported by the Daily Mirror and confirmed by other various news sources. So Bradley Walsh is apparently going off. He's got a bunch of irons in the fire already. Tosin Cole's going to be going off. He's got this AMC series called, I believe, 61st Street that he's going to be doing. So he's got that lined up. But Mandeep Gill is going to be returning for Series 13 as Yaz. She's not going anywhere.
Good.
And, of course, Jodie Whittaker is returning, regardless of what some other scurrilous people on the internet may have you believe.
Absolutely.
And so the question is, well, are they going to be bringing in any new replacements or replacement? Yeah. And I'm kind of wondering, well, this would be a great time if they just brought in one new young male companion.
Yeah.
And pared it back down to 2 companions with the Doctor.
I agree. And I would be okay if it was solo, her and Yaz for a while.
They could do that too.
I agree, though. I think it would be good to see that. So, yeah.
I think, especially, there's so many dudes, as we know, watching Doctor Who. You'd think you'd at least want to have at least one dude,
right,
along with the Doctor. And yes, but it's not required.
Absolutely.
So don't have to.
Yeah.
But we'll see. So we'll see what happens. But apparently, the 13th Doctor's got to go companion shopping.
Nice. I love it.
Good thing she just met a whole bunch of potential companions this season, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
All right. So we'll see if one of those becomes the new companion. All right. Listener feedback. We have 4.
Yay.
So we got lots of cover. So Jesse, how about I suggest you take the first 2 and I'll take the last 2. So you take Holly and Hannah, and I'll take David and Sean.
I would gladly do it. I was going to let you do Holly because you mentioned last time
you
never get to Holly. Okay.
That's all right. I'm cool with that. I'm secure with myself.
You are. Hi, Charles and Jesse. That is us.
Yep.
Man, what an episode. Still trying to wrap my head around the whole thing. I really thought that the Master was going to be revealed as the Timeless Child. Those Cybermen Time Lords were really creepy. Mm-hmm. The ending with the June coming and locking the Doctor up.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about that.
How's she going to get out of this mess? Yes.
What'd you think about the cliffhanger? I'm kind of interrupting here.
First off, great cliffhanger, though I don't understand how they got in the TARDIS.
Well, maybe the 10th Doctor did. Maybe the 13th Doctor left her shields down.
Okay, could be.
You don't know.
Right.
So
yeah,
how did the Titanic get in the TARDIS? Well, the Doctor left the shields down. So
she looked very, very tired.
Yeah.
She's like, okay, I'm going to get the fan, but maybe I'll just rest for a minute. So she could have been,
yeah.
Well,
I mean, because she had, the time she was separated from the fam, they think she's dead.
Yes.
And so, she just had this whole big truth bomb dropped on her by the Master.
And I'm
sure
intrigued.
She's emotionally compromised.
And I do think that the idea that the Doctor is wanted for the crime she did pre Time Lord era, right? Did I get that right?
What? I'm sorry. What?
Yeah. The Doctor is wanted for the crime she committed
during the future.
during the pre-Time Lord era.
Yeah, I
think the Division era, or what is that what we called it? The Division?
The Division era. But
Okay.
I think what it is because they talked about remember the Jadoon were hunting the fugitive doctor.
Right.
So I think it's for those crimes that the Jadoon were looking to hunt down the fugitive doctor, and they're like, well, hey, we've got the 13th Doctor right here.
Yeah.
Same being, right?
Right. Absolutely.
So let's arrest her.
Right. Going back to Holly, I'm going to repeat the ending with the Jadoon coming and locking the Doctor up. How's she going to get out of this mess?
Right.
And I wish we knew more about the guy who took the Doctor's place. Could it have been the one who found the Doctor as an orphan? Wonder how much of this revelation is going to play into the holiday special and the next series. I'll wrap it up here. Holly from Wisconsin.
Yep. So Good. Thank you, Holly. Great to hear from you.
Yes, always great.
Yeah.
And as I've talked about before, just already released. If you look, Holly and I talking music on Set Listing Bruce. So you should check that out.
Yeah, please check that out.
All right. So Hannah, greetings, Charles and Jesse. That would be us. Yep. I happened to be on a break when the Series 12 finale aired, so I thought I'd chime in with my thoughts. As per usual, Sacha Dhawan gave an outstanding performance as the Master. I really liked how he could seamlessly alter between being comedic and ruthless at the drop of a hat. I look forward to eventually learning how exactly he survives that explosion.
Right.
So put Hannah voting as yes, he lived.
Yeah, it's the Master. The odds are that he survives somehow. Yeah.
Now with the regards to Jodie Whittaker, there isn't a doubt in my mind that she's the Doctor. Right there with you, Hannah.
Yep.
Anyone who shouts online that she can't act can go eat pears. I agree.
Well said.
This story featured this Doctor at her lowest point, and I thought that Jodie did an excellent job conveying the weariness of the situation. Totally agree.
Testify.
Right there with you.
Yes.
Now, with regards to the plot, to put it lightly, there was a lot. I don't think that the transitions between the Dr. Trippy Matrix Dream story time and the Cyberman bits were as smooth as it could have been.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with the revelation of the Doctor being the timeless child and about all the hidden Morbius incarnations.
Mm-hmm.
The Doctor being used as a lab rat and then as a sleeper agent, forcibly regressed into a childlike state repeatedly, is definitely a dark twist for the show. I agree with that.
Yep.
What I don't understand, however, is why the Time Lords kept the Doctor alive so long, even as the source code for regeneration. If the Time Lords had perfected the process, then surely the Doctor as an asset has exceeded, at the time, his useful life. Also, applying the source code logic, why send the Doctor on these possibly life-threatening missions? Why didn't the Time Lords just store the Doctor in a vault if they valued that genetic material so much? I'm assuming they'd already have gotten the code out of it, and they were just sending the Doctor off on missions.
Yeah, because they thought that they had the Doctor under their control.
Right.
So, I think it was just a question, well, we got what we needed, the genetic material from the Doctor. Mm-hmm. So the Doctor is expendable at this point.
Yeah. I know my emails tend to run long, so I'll wrap it up here. They're not long. We love it. The more, the better.
Exactly.
As a side note, when I was I the only one who was reminded of the scene in Star Wars where Han and Luke dress up as stormtroopers when Yaz and Graham saved Ryan while wearing Cyberman armor? I was
waiting for the line when Yaz took off her Cyberman helmet. Aren't you a little short for a Cyberman?
I was waiting for it too. Absolutely.
That would have been great. I would have made sure that line was in there. But that's
always. Keep up the good work, and I look forward to future discussions, including the unspecified Dalek Christmas or New Year's special. Best regards, Hannah Scarappa. Thank you.
Yep.
All right.
So,
now, what do you got, Charles?
Well, thank you, Hannah. First and foremost, always great to hear from you, and please follow Hannah on Twitter. She's awesome. By the way, so she posts a lot of cool stuff on Twitter. So check her. Please follow her. Highly recommended. Dave Proctor. All right. Writes in about the timeless children. Dave writes, first thing is that I respect this episode as great TV. 10 of 10. However, I have some major issues with this as who. So the Doctor isn't a Shabogan. And the Shabogans are essentially the kind of primitive race that we were introduced to, but they didn't really have a name for yet.
Okay.
So they finally get a name, and no, the Doctor is not a Shabogan. Adopted Shabogan, apparently, as it turns out. The she/he is anatomically and physically identical to Shabogans. They never went in for a medical exam when they did a blood test on her. Well, presumably they did because, again, you had Tecteun, who's a scientist. I'm pretty sure she could figure out a way around that, right?
Yeah.
After the knowledge of her being different was redacted and enough time passed, she was never examined for any puzzling medical issue. Well, again, if Tecteun kept strict control over her,
Yeah.
maybe didn't let her have that opportunity. There's obviously a lot more to the story to tell.
Yes.
Lots more to explore. I must also address Tecteun. I'm a peace officer, and it tends to filter my thinking a bit. She finds a child in space with no witnesses to the event, and authorities have no way of looking into it. Must accept her word for it. But they just can't return the child. So as long as she's being cared for, it's allowed. But then one day she simply has a completely different child and a succession of children, but never multiple children. And he goes, Lucy, you have some splaining to do. And my response to that is, well, maybe Tecteun kept, the timeless child out of society.
Yeah.
Didn't let her out of the house. Bottom line, maybe.
Creepy.
We don't know. Again, there's it's just introduced. So there's a lot more to talk about here. Explore if we want to. How would humans be convinced? You cannot just make the child regenerate a bunch of times unless you already knew it was infinite. You never know when the regeneration would be the last one. I doubt anyone put that much thought into what they were saying on the show, but I did. Well, remember, Tecteun was the guinea pig for the regeneration. So essentially, Tecteun would be going, hey, look, I'm living proof. Here's my video of me recording myself. I put it up on Gallifreyan YouTube of me regenerating for the first time, so you can see it's not a hoax. So, so essentially, probably Tecteun was the one who convinced them, not the timeless child, I'm guessing. That's just my speculation on that. This season has turned Doctor Who on its head in a lot of ways, but so did Doctor Who 1990. He says it has 1995, but I think he means the 1996 TV movie.
Okay.
What choice do we have but to accept it as truth and move on? As hard as it is for my non-Whovian friends to get their head around the concept of Doctor Who, that is where I am, getting my head around this season. I'm going to hang on and enjoy the ride. That's a good attitude. Looking forward to your podcast as always. Thank you for that. I give the show a 10 out of 10 or 1 out of 10, depending on how next season works out some issues on where the show goes from here. Hopefully you mean the Doctor Who show, not our show.
Yes.
Horrible Who is still a passing grade, so 0 out of 10 is impossible. I assume if Chibnall ruins the series, he didn't ruin the series.
No, he assumed if.
Yeah.
It ruins the series.
I assume if, yes, then they will pull a Dallas and make the entire season a dream.
Nice.
Thank you, David K. Proctor.
Absolutely.
Well, there's nothing stopping from like the next showrunner who comes in from completely upturning the apple cart again and reversing it if he or she wants to. So, just because, if there's something you don't like now, somebody else could come around and just completely, everything you knew was wrong again. And, things get flipped back. Who knows? But we'll see. But we'll see if this one's, this is a pretty big change. And we'll see if this one sticks. So we'll see.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you, Dave. I really appreciate you writing in. That's awesome. You're always been consistent this entire season. So
absolutely,
thank you for
really
that.
Appreciate it.
Now, on a very surprising note and a welcome one at that, we actually have a new writer into Next Up Everywhere. You may have seen him on Twitter as a TARDIS pilot, but Sean from Anaheim, California, writes in and says, hello, Jesse and Charles. Well, hello, Sean. First off, love the podcast. Well, thank you. Wanted to write in with some thoughts about the finale. Sorry to say I was a bit disappointed with it, but not for the reasons I've seen a lot of people complain about on the interwebs, such as breaking continuity or disrespecting Hartnell's position as the first Doctor, which that didn't happen either.
No.
There's no disrespect. William Hartnell is still the first Doctor, guys. Yeah. It's just there happens to be secret doctors we didn't know about, kind of like we didn't know about the War Doctor until Stephen Moffat revealed the War Doctor.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Exactly.
So, it's not breaking continuity, it's adding to it.
Yes.
I've noticed that a lot of long-running projects are going back over their own past instead of moving their stories forward. Star Trek, for instance, hasn't had a forward-looking project since Voyager ended. I haven't seen it yet, but even Picard is relying on classic characters and nostalgia. Well, as someone who's watching Picard, and this is me interjecting on this one, there are classic characters, there is nostalgia, but they are moving the timeline forward. This is now in 2399 on Picard, and we're dealing with a fallout from Romulus blowing up, and there was a bunch of refugees that got scattered all across the universe, and it caused a lot of friction between Picard and Starfleet, so much that he ended up resigning his commission, or being encouraged to resign his commission.
Yeah, I'm watching it too, Charles. My concern is Patrick Stewart. He's old.
Yes, he is. But he's also playing a deliberately old Picard,
I know, but
who's dying.
I worry about his health. I just, sometimes
that could be some acting he's laying on.
Yeah,
too.
It could be, but I absolutely, I think the series has been. I do think they're moving the story forward, and I'm
guessing if it was so rough, he wouldn't be doing a second season.
Right, absolutely, and so I believe once you get to see this, Sean, you'll see it.
Yeah.
They are not adding characters from the past just for whatever reason.
For nostalgia. They're integral to the plot.
Yes, and it's really well done.
Yeah. So I highly recommend Picard. It's something I've been I love talking about it. So I'm digging this show. So back to Sean here. He goes, one of the reasons I was so excited at Doctor Who's return in 2005 was that they were honoring the show's past but telling stories in a new style, moving the Doctor's character in new directions, having different relationships with the companions, etc. Well, that's kind of what they're doing here, right? Just saying. I really enjoy the Fugitive Doctor, as Charles calls her. To be fair, I wasn't the one who came up with the name. I just liked it.
Yeah, it's a great name.
It's a great name, the Fugitive Doctor. Kind of like the War Doctor, right? How cool would it have been if they had shown us the next Doctor 1 or 2 years before the current one left the show? Maybe they did. We don't know. Right. We still need to know more about the Fugitive Doctor. That would have been an awesome bit of showmanship to pull off. Instead, she is most likely just a forgotten bit of the Doctor's past, her story over before it even began. Well, I don't think her story's over. I
don't think so either. Yeah,
I think we were going to see her again, because you don't introduce somebody like that and just drop it. So just the show starting to eat its own tail, going back over its past instead of moving forward. Well, in this case, I think it's moving forward by going into a previously unknown territory.
Yeah. And by the way, thank you, Sean.
Yeah.
Because, we're not finished with it yet, but I just want to jump in as well.
Yeah.
I first off, I'm glad someone gave feedback that they don't enjoy the episode as much. So I don't feel the lone man on the podcast.
No, you're not alone. There's plenty of trolls out there on the internet that agree with you.
I'm not a troll.
You're totally trolling.
But I do. I do think they are trying to move forward, and as I said before, I want to mandate it. I applaud Chibnall swinging for the fences. It just didn't work for me. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So just to kind of illustrate the point here, I know obviously you can't see it, but I'm going to for Jesse. So essentially, this is where I'm folding that Guide to the Doctor in half here.
Yeah.
So this is where we were. This is where we are now.
Yeah.
That's adding, not subtracting.
Yeah. Yes.
So that's adding stuff right there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We're expanding the mythos.
Right.
And Sean Ann wraps up here. He says, "I hope I don't sound too harsh. You definitely don't sound too harsh,
No,
Sean.
not
You're
at
fine.
all.
You're perfectly fair there."
Yes, you are not a troll.
No, I am.
Charles is saying I am.
I'm the troll.
But,
No, I'm the troll.
yeah.
I'm the troll. I'm the positive troll.
Yeah.
I love the show for 4 decades now, over 4 decades now, and still do. Right there with you, Sean. I'm hoping they will prove me wrong and manage to use this as a way to move the show forward in ways that I haven't thought of.
All of us think that way, Sean.
Thanks for doing a great podcast. Well, you're very welcome, Sean. And
Yeah.
thank you for listening. Thank you for checking out our podcast. And, even though we were like butting heads in this one, I hope you keep listening.
I hope so too. And
this is just where a time where we're at odds
Yes.
and very like adamant in our stances here.
Mostly, and if you go back, in most cases, Charles and I are in sync,
Yes.
or within a half a point away from doing this. So I think this is more critical than ever.
Yes.
Charles is about to tell you how you can give us feedback.
Yes.
We need to hear. The world needs to know. Are you Team Charles or Team Jesse? No. We do want to know what you think about the podcast and what you're thinking and the creative direction the show's taking. I really want to know. I'd love to hear that. So, Charles, if they want to share with us, how can they?
Well, whatever your opinion, we'd love to hear it. All opinions welcome here. We're not trying
Absolutely.
to discourage anybody away. And if we do, I don't mean to.
Exactly.
So, all right. But that's definitely not my intention. So everybody, if you want to reach out to us, please do. Next Stop Everywhere, smg@gmail.com. That's Next Stop Everywhere, smg for Southgate Media Group @gmail.com. Or you can reach out to us on Twitter @NextStopSMG on Twitter, or on Facebook, Next Stop Everywhere, the Doctor Who podcast, or on Instagram @Next Stop Everywhere podcast. That would be awesome if you did. Please like and follow us. Share the links because, hey, obviously we'd love to grow the podcast, and we could definitely use your help in that if you're so inclined. You don't have to, but if you want to, we definitely appreciate it.
And it would help us so much if you go to wherever you get your podcast, whether it's iTunes or Stitcher, whatever, and go and give us a rating and review. It is truly how people find us. And tell your Whovian friends, say, hey, have you checked out these guys, Charles and Jesse? You should. They're good stuff.
Yep. And obviously all our special guest companions, if you want to listen to previous episodes, because we have a lot of great special guest companions out there, a lot of people, contributors. So please check us out. And Jesse, where can they reach you?
So you can hear me talk if you want to hear even more of Charles and I wonderful banter. We are available. You just heard us talking about Krypton.
Yep.
We just did. Maybe you're just catching up on Watchmen on Demand, the Phantom Zone podcast. Charles and I, where we talk about comic book series on TV. You can check us there. If you just got DC Universe and you're going, hey, this Titan thing looks pretty good, there's a podcast called Titan Talk where Charles and I talk about that.
They also did they announced Stargirl, the release date in May.
Yes.
So
and that's
you were asking about that. You were asking about
we
that.
We definitely will. That will be the Phantom Zone. We will have to watch that. I'm just so excited. About that
we're both
show.
Justice Society geeks. So they're going to be
the podcast that I never mention.
Yes.
How many with my 4 friends that gets 100 downloads a month. But if you do want to hear 4 guys sit around bantering about pop culture and such, please check that out.
Yep.
It's on the Southgate Media. And then Set Leslie Bruce, the Bruce Springsteen podcast, where I talk to Bruce Springsteen fans from around the world. As I said, frequent contributor and guest companion Holly Mack was just up. In a couple of weeks, Ron Martz is going to talk about, not only is he talking about Springsteen and how Bruce Springsteen and Stephen King are his two main story influences.
Okay.
Story writing influences. And we get a little bit on Kyle Rayner and the thought process about him being the Lantern. I did not ask about the girl in a refrigerator directly, but we did talk
Alex,
about but we did talk a little bit about controversy,
which inspired the whole women in refrigerators thing
Yes.
by Gail Simone.
Yes.
And that sparked a whole movement there on that one.
Yeah,
because of characters who just get killed off to give the hero a cheap emotion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So
female characters, I should say.
Yeah, so great stuff. Charles, I know they're sitting there going, man, that Jesse guy, he's bringing Charles down. Is there a podcast where Charles gets to show his joy and happiness without Jesse being an anchor? Tell us, Charles.
Well, like I told you once more before we get off this floor, don't bring me down. So everybody, if provided you're not tired of me after listening to this podcast, please check me out at of course, at Charles Skaggs on Twitter, at Charles Skaggs on Instagram, Facebook, Charles Skaggs in Hilliard, Ohio, or my blog at Geeky Things. Do the thing.
Damn good coffee. And hot.
Damn good coffee and hot, where we talk about all the stuff that we talk about here and Next Stop Everywhere, your Doctor Who, your Torchwood, Sarah Jane Adventures, all kinds of comic book sci-fi news of my other podcasts for the Southgate Media Group, including the aforementioned Phantom Zone podcast that I did with Jesse, Titan Talk, the Titans podcast that I also do with Jesse, which is kind of on hiatus until hopefully Doom Patrol returns, and the Ghostwood, the Twin Peaks podcast that I do with Zan Sprouse, wife of comic book artist Chris Sprouse, whom you've heard here on Next Stop Everywhere, where I talk about all things Twin Peaks, David Lynch, etc., etc. And if you've listened to Zan, she recently did a great appearance on DJ Nick's Happiness and Darkness podcast, where she talked Flash Gordon. And I listened to that. I highly recommend it if you want to check that out, because Zan is just all kinds of great to listen to. She's so knowledgeable. She's if you think my brain has a ton of geeky stuff, Zan's brain just makes mine look completely embarrassed in comparison, because she's a fountain of knowledge and of trivia, and she's great. So please check her out, and also, like I said, obviously on Ghostwood, we definitely appreciate it. And otherwise,
good.
Next time on Next Stop Everywhere.
Hey.
Yes.
That's what I was just going to ask. You read my mind.
Well,
hey, what do we? The series is over, and what are we going to do next week, Charles?
Well, we are going to do. If we just got done talking 10 episodes of Series 12. So what are we going to do? We're going to review the whole damn season. So we're going to talk here at the big Next Stop Everywhere 175th episode, which I like to call the review of Series 12 in pure Doctor Who title fashion. But it's not going to be just Jesse and I talking this, because you've already heard our opinions on this. So we're bringing in a special guest star. So if you've listened to Titan Talk and listened to the Phantom Zone, you know that when we do our season wrap-ups, we usually have one guy in mind for that, and that, of course, is DJ Nick. So DJ Nick's going to be joining us to give his thoughts on Doctor Who Series 12.
Yes.
So you don't have to listen to, like, Jesse and my tired old asses. And get his thoughts on what he thinks is, the ups and downs. And then obviously, I'm sure we'll talk about all kinds of things that hopefully we didn't cover in our previous episodes, because, we try to keep to that 1 hour time limit, except for tonight, because there's a lot to talk about. And so everybody, please come on back. Next Stop Everywhere 175.
There was a lot to talk about.
Yeah. So come on back. And, Jesse, anything else before we sign off? As we wait for the Jesse's internet to catch up.
I just want to say, I tweeted this while we were on the show.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you hear me at all, Charles?
I can totally hear you.
I can hear you fine, but I'm taking you. How about now? Can you hear me? Okay, great. I tweeted this, and I got to tell you, I have so much love in my heart for you, and there is no one else I would want to talk Doctor Who with on a consistent basis. I love our guest companions, and as we plan for the hiatus, we're going to have a lot of people join us, we hope, and that's going to be a lot of fun. But you keep me on path, you keep me going, and this has been another great season of Doctor Who, and I hope our listeners think this has been a great season of Next Stop Everywhere. So thank you, Charles, for all that.
Well, it's a tag team effort. I couldn't do it without you. We obviously, we've had a lot to talk about. There's some things we've liked, some things we haven't liked, but the whole point is that we're Doctor Who fans, and even if we have different thoughts and different approaches, we still have that bond. We're partners in time, and there's no one else obviously I'd rather do the podcast with.
Absolutely.
So thank you for that, and so as we have wrap things up with this nice big hug, bro hug, everybody come on back next time. Next Stop Everywhere, 175, the review of Series 12 with DJ Nick. It's going to be awesome, and hopefully we'll learn a whole bunch of new things and check up, and hopefully Nick doesn't contract coronavirus from Italy before then, and find out if he's still alive next time on Next Stop Everywhere, the Doctor Who podcast. Goodbye, everybody.